How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, to give you guys a draft recap and a schedule preview on the New York Football Giants. And yeah, it's been a little bit since I did a football video. The only one that I've done recently is the Shador Sanders video, but I've been wanting to talk about the Giants draft, and especially with the NFL schedule coming out recently, I wanted to give you my thoughts on the Giants schedule. We knew what the opponents were for every team in the NFL, but now we get to see how the Giants season unfolds week to week. So let's kind of get into talking about the draft. So I really like what the Giants did in the draft. Going into it, obviously, the main thing that was talked about was the quarterback position, what the Giants were going to do there, and, with that number 3 pick, were they going to opt and take a quarterback? But as, we got closer and closer to the draft, it was kind of looking like maybe that wasn't going to be the case and that they would take best player available, which is what I wanted them to do. And I was someone that wanted them to go and get Travis Hunter and pair him with Malik Neighbors. Now, that did not happen. As we got closer and closer to the draft, it seemed like, the Browns are going to take him. He was going to go at 2. Now, the Browns didn't take him with the second pick because they ended up trading out of it, but he did go 2 anyways to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the next best player on the board was Abdul Carter out of Penn State, and I was on board with that pick. The Giants were not afraid. They said, you know what? We can afford to wait. And they took the best player available. And they really bolstered their pass rush by doing this. You now pair him with Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence. They picked up Kayvon Thibodeau's 5th-year option. They signed Golston from the Cowboys, and they also drafted another defensive player in Darius Alexander out of Toledo. So this Giants defensive line, I was excited for it last year. I'm even more excited for it now. This Giants defense, and even when you look at what they did in free agency, they added a couple of defensive backs in Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo. You really got to like where this Giants defense is at this moment. And you just got to hope that it's a solid unit next year, because Giants got a lot of tough games on the schedule. So when the Giants did that, you figured, okay, now I guess, they'll take a quarterback with their next pick, potentially. And, we're moving along in the draft, and, Shador Sanders continues to slide down. And as my microphone slides down as well, or is about to fall down, but I saved it, the draft continues to unfold. And you start to wonder, like, Giants could be a team that trades back into the first round. And that was kind of what I was hoping for as well, is that they would trade back into the first round and you take a quarterback. And that's exactly what happened. They trade back in the 25th pick. And I don't know. I was like, well, if they take Shador Sanders here, I'm okay with that. Have him sit behind Russ, have him sit behind Jameis Winston. And, that's perfect. But they went and they traded back in to get Jaxson Dart out of Ole Miss. And look, they got their quarterback. Didn't watch too much on Jaxson Dart, but I think him not starting at all in 2025 would be a good thing, because then that means the Giants are competitive. But there's still a chance that we could see him. But I really did not have a problem with this pick. I was definitely surprised because, we just kept hearing that the top 2 quarterbacks going in the draft was going to be Cam Ward and Shador Sanders. And it ended up being Cam Ward and Jaxson Dart. And then Shador Sanders just kept sliding. And I said right before the pick, because I was out with some friends, and they were saying, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Shador Sanders or Jaxson Dart? And I said Shador Sanders. But I said I really didn't care. I was like, as long as they take a quarterback, which we knew that's what they were going to end up doing, and that's exactly what they did. They take Jaxson Dart, and again, there's that Ole Miss connection with Eli. So, hopefully that pans out. Hopefully this is the future. But I loved what the Giants did in the first round, and like I said, overall, because like I said, they took a defensive tackle in Darius Alexander out of Toledo. You pair him up with Dexter Lawrence, another guy that you add to that defensive line to, help stop the run. The Giants struggled with stopping the run last year. So, you hope that helps. Again, they added Golston over from the Cowboys as well. And Dexter Lawrence could do so many different things for you. So this Giants defense, again, I hope is going to be special. And then I love the pick in the 4th round with Cam Skattebo, the running back out of Arizona State. We saw what he did in the college football playoff on the grand stage. And you now pair him up with Tyrone Tracy. And it kind of gives you a reminder of, the Earth, Wind, and Fire days with Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw, and, to a lesser extent, DJ Ware. But yeah, I like that. This guy is a football player. Very emotional when he got drafted by the Giants. He is going to give it his all. He's a big running back. He could catch passes out of the backfield. He could throw passes as well. I think that's a nice little duo that the Giants have. And, I'm curious to see how the passing game is going to look now with the changes, with Russell Wilson now stepping in to be the starter. I hope this Giants running game can really, step it up with Tracy and now Skattebo. And they do also have Devin Singletary still, but he could be a possible cut casualty, so we'll see what they end up doing. But I like what they did there. Now, again, it's not going to be the same, without Saquon Barkley. But Tyrone Tracy was pretty good last year. And you add another running back to complement him. I like that a lot. They also took Tyrone Tracy's former Purdue teammate in the 5th round, and that was Marcus Membu, Marcus Bow. Again, apologize for the mispronunciation. There's a couple different ways people are pronouncing it, but look, offensive line has been something that the Giants have struggled to fix for years. It's been like that since the Super Bowl days, really. The second Super Bowl with Eli. So, again, they added some depth in the offseason, and this offensive line was better when Andrew Thomas was healthy, and they made some moves last year. They signed John Runyon and Jermaine Illuminor. So hopefully it could stay healthy, and with the depth that they've added, this could be a solid offensive line, create holes for the running backs, give Russell Wilson time. So I don't have complaints there. They also drafted the tight end out of Nebraska, Thomas Fidone, the second. I actually saw him play live last year when I went to the Ohio State-Nebraska game. He was actually the leading receiver for Nebraska, but honestly, I couldn't tell you. I remember him, doing anything in the game. And Nebraska almost won that game, too. But, yeah, not really much to say about that. The Giants love Theo Johnson, though, the tight end they took last year out of Penn State. They're hoping for a big year two out of him. Tight end's been something that's been lacking for the Giants for a while. They thought they were going to correct that with Darren Waller, and then, of course, he retired. And, now he's, pursuing a singing career. So, yeah, hopefully the Giants can get that situated. And then with their final pick, they took Corey Black, cornerback out of Oklahoma State. So a depth piece for the secondary. Secondary, like I said, is going to be improved, you would imagine, with the defensive backs that they added and what they already have there. Tyler Nubin going into his second season. Deontay Banks, hopefully, could step up again. Still a young corner. So, I like where the Giants are at with their team. The problem is, all right, so first, let me give them a draft grade. I will give them, I kind of want to give them an A. Because I just feel like you got best player available. You got a need at quarterback. You added a playmaker to the offense. You also added to the secondary. You added an offensive lineman. Maybe would have liked for them to add a receiver, but that's okay. They re-signed Darius Slayton. You got Wan'Dale Robinson and, of course, Malik Neighbors, the number one receiver. So maybe in next year's draft we'll see them add another playmaker, depending on, who's going to be at the helm when talking about the front office and, head coach, because this is it for Brian Dable and Joe Shane. This is it, I think. But I really like what the Giants did. I really did. So we'll see how it pans out on the field. But let's get into that schedule now, shall we? Because yeah, it's not great. It's not great. So this is the Giants' 2025 schedule. Now again, we already knew what the opponents were, but this is how it's going to be. So to run through it, they start off the year, couple games on the road against divisional opponents, the Washington Commanders, the Dallas Cowboys, and then their home opener is Week 3, Sunday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then it doesn't get any easier because the following week they play the Chargers, the Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert Chargers. Then against the Saints, no Derek Carr. Derek Carr retired. I wanted to do a video on that along with also a couple of other things. George Pickens being traded to the Cowboys. We'll do that at some point, maybe with Ben or another guest. We'll figure that out. But it'll be Tyler Show as of right now, then or Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, Aaron Rodgers. Who knows who the starting quarterback's going to be? But then you got the Saints on the road. Then you got the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles coming to MetLife. Thursday Night Football, that is Week 6. Then you got Week 7 in Denver. Then Week 8 in Philly, and they haven't won in Philly since I was in middle school. Then they take on the 49ers, and the reason they are taking on the 49ers is because the 49ers also finished in last place in their division last year, so that's nice. Then they take on the Bears the following week, another team that finished in last place that you figure is going to be better with now Ben Johnson as the head coach. Then you got the Green Bay Packers. Back-to-back road games, the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed last year in the NFC, and the New England Patriots on the road, who are going to be a better team. Mike Vrabel is the head coach. Then they got the bye week. They can't win or lose that. Then you got the Commanders at home. You got the Vikings at home with J.J. McCarthy. Vikings were a 14 wins last year. They were a 14-win team last year. But still, yeah, J.J. McCarthy. Then you got the Pete Carroll-led Raiders along with Tom Brady and Geno Smith. And then you got the Cowboys to finish up the year at home. So you look at that schedule, and as me and Ben like to say, where are the wins coming from? Yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot on this schedule. I could tell you the easiest games on the schedule, I mean, I would say the Saints, just because we don't know who's playing quarterback for them next year. Because maybe the starting quarterback is not on the roster still. I mean, I know they drafted Tyler Show, and there's no Derek Carr, so it could be him. We'll see. And then the Raiders, I could see them winning that game. But again, you know, they got a new regime, and it's going to be late in the year, so who knows what the Raiders are going to look like. They're going to be better, but I feel like the Giants could still win that. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at this, and you say to yourself, yeah, it looks like 3 or 4 wins again. But here's what the Giants have going for them. I think the quarterback play is going to be better. Now, you're probably saying, well, of course it's going to be better. I mean, how much, but also how much better do you think it's going to be? I mean, anything is going to be better than what they had last year. And you're right. You're right. But the quarterback play is going to be better. So there's that. And then the other thing, too, is the defense is going to be very good. You know, for years the Giants have struggled with not just rebuilding the offensive line, but also to get after the quarterback, to protect the quarterback and get after the quarterback. Those have been 2 things that the Giants have been struggling to try to correct. Now, I think they are on the upward trajectory when it comes to that, particularly when you look at this pass rush. Abdul Carter now, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. This defense is going to get after your quarterback. And I think that could lead to maybe the Giants' defense taking over a game, and maybe the Giants steal a game here or there. But the offense does have to put up points. You know, and Russell Wilson, not the same player he once was. We understand that. And hopefully, he's a different kind of player. Now with Brian Dable leading the charge. And, you know, Russ showed you some things last year in Pittsburgh. The moon ball. But, yeah, I mean, the off-script plays, I mean, that's just not there anymore. I mean, maybe it comes back. Maybe he surprises us and he turns back into Russ from Seattle. No, it's not happening. But, yeah, this is a tough schedule. This is a tough schedule. However you slice it, doesn't look like a lot of wins are on the schedule here. But let's kind of go through it. Let's give a rough prediction here on May 15th as I'm recording this. So they start off with the Commanders. Commanders swept them last year. Now, if you remember, when they first played each other in Washington, the Giants didn't have a kicker for the entire game. Graham Gano ended up hurting himself. What did he pull his hamstring on the kickoff? And actually, what happened, I remember, because Austin Eckler ran back the kickoff, right? And then there was a flag on the play. So Graham Gano got hurt on a play that got called back. So the Giants were without a kicker. And had the Giants had a kicker, they would have won that game. So the Giants are going to split with the Commanders this year. Now, usually I'll say, until Washington beats them, the Giants are going to sweep them. Well, Washington swept them last year, and they went to the NFC Championship game. And I had the Commanders winning, I think, 4 games last year. Yeah, because I was just like, I'm not a fan of the Dan Quinn hire, rookie quarterback. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that good. No, they came 1 game away from making it all the way to the Super Bowl. They lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, I think the Giants are going to split with the Commanders. And you know what? I'm going to say they finally beat Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Because it's been a long time since they've done that too. I think they'll split with the Cowboys. I think they're going to split with the Cowboys. So I'll give them 2 wins there. I think they beat the Saints. So that'll give them 3 wins. The Chiefs-Chargers game, I mean, back-to-back home games. You also got to remember, the Giants went 1-8 at home last year. And you look at these home games. None of them are guarantees. None of them. Again. So, yeah, I mean, look, you got the AFC champs coming in. Patrick Mahomes, that could be a game I could be interested in going into. Because I also went to the Jets-Chiefs game on Sunday Night Football a couple years ago now. Yeah, that one's going to be tough. I think the Chiefs probably win that. Chargers, I could see them winning that. I could see them pulling off an upset there. But it's just tough, though, because, again, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. Chargers are going to be very good this year. They're going to be better than they were last year, and you expect, Justin Herbert in year 2 in the new system to continue to play well. Yeah, it's going to be tough. So I might pencil that in as a loss. Eagles, did they split with the Eagles? They could, but, I mean, again, they haven't won in Philly since I was in middle school, and I expect that to continue. I expect them to lose. Yeah, I think the Eagles might sweep them. Broncos, Bo Nix, young quarterback still. Giants defense could give him problems. Defense does travel. Yeah, I think the Broncos are going to be really good. Probably a loss. Bears, Ben Johnson now is the head coach of the Bears. Again, defense could give Caleb Williams some problems, but also the Bears defense is pretty good. I think the Giants could win that. But yeah, that could go either way. Packers, now if you remember, Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, he knocked off the Packers on Monday Night Football a couple years ago. They could pull off an upset there at home. The Lions, look, they lost both of their coordinators. How is that going to impact this team? It's still very good. Could the Giants pull off an upset there? Maybe, but probably not. Patriots, I could see them winning that, but again, the Patriots are going to be better. Commanders, like I said, I think they split with the Commanders. Vikings is going to be tough with J.J. McCarthy and that team. How is he going to look? The Raiders, I said, could be a win, and I said they could split with the Cowboys. So, look, I think some of these games I look at, and I say it's not impossible for the Giants to win, but again, I would lean more towards them losing a lot of these games than winning. I mean, their ceiling, they could win. Let's say, look, they split with the Commanders, they split with the Cowboys. You give some of these young quarterbacks problems like, Bo Nix and Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy and Drake May. Yeah, you're facing the entire, draft class from last year almost. Could they get to 8 or 9 wins? Again, that would really have to, depend on their defense and if Russell Wilson can play some competent football. But How many wins do I legitimately think the Giants could get? Look, they won 3 last year, and with the schedule, it looks like 3 could be a possibility. I don't think they're going to win 8 or 9 games. I'm going to say they're in like the middle. I think they find a way to win like 6 or 7. And that might be too much. I said that last year and they won 3. So I'm going to say the same thing. I think they win around 6 or 7. And I don't think that's going to be enough for Brian Dable to keep his job and Joe Shane to keep their jobs. Now, maybe if Jaxson Dart comes in later in the year and he plays well, then maybe that buys them some more time. But it's just tough because the way John Mara talked at the end of the year, you're thinking, yeah, this is it. So I don't really know. But I'm not gonna say 3 wins. I'm not gonna say 8 or 9. I'm gonna go in the middle. Gonna say between like 6 or 7. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope that pass rush terrorizes opposing quarterbacks. They get turnovers. That gives this offense some short fields. And Russell Wilson throws those moon balls to Malik Neighbors, to Darius Slayton, hits Wan'Dale Robinson over the middle. You know, we see Scatterboo and Tracy running the football well. But, yeah, it's going to be tough. I do want to go to a game, though. I do want to go to a game at some point this year, even though it could be a long season. But hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's not. So that's my thoughts on the Giants' schedule and their draft. I think their draft was very good. I think they're a better team than they were last year, but still might not amount to a lot of wins. But let me know what you guys think about the Giants' schedule and how you see their season playing out. Let me know in the comments. We're going to try to do some more football content. We'll talk about the NFL schedule as a whole. We'll go through the primetime games and things like that in the coming weeks. But, just wanted to get a Giants video out there, give a brief recap on their draft and take a look at their schedule. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Make sure to check out the Subway Series preview video that I recorded earlier today. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate it. And also, if you want to listen to us, we're also on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. So until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off. Have a good one, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.